Hey there. I realized just as I was getting started today that I left my black paint open and it has completely gooped up and dried out. So I had to make a last minute change. So I'm working on navy blue today. Um, and that's why I'm a minute late here. So we are doing the Lavender Wings Advanced Artistry. I've got my step-by-step guide here. And if you have not already, you want to get your background painted and your stencil put on. We're working with a 16 arm stencil. So I'm going to draw this on here real quick. As far as additional supplies go, tonight you may want to get a gem for the center. These are about, I'm going to say 8 millimeters. Let me double check. It should be in the workshop hub. Maybe 10, not centimeters. Did I say centimeters? Millimeters. Yeah, so you can do a center circle with your 10 millimeter tool, or if you've got a gem to use in the center, that's what we're using for this design. I also have my petal tools. Again, if you don't have petal tools, you can just use a dot and then pull that into a teardrop shape. The colors we're using tonight are Baby Blush. I'm going to get that out here. Vivid Violet. Picked Peri and Provence Sky. And then for top dots, we also have Nuvo drops. I have the glitter, which is Lilac Whispers. So you can use that if you've got it, or you can use just another color for your top dots. All right, so I'm going to place my stone here in the center, and you can decide whether, if you've got the stones, I've got blue and purple, you can use either color for your center dot, whatever you want to do. If you want to glue it on now, you can. If you want to wait until the end, you can do that as well. I like to glue mine on as I go. I just feel like it helps me keep everything in place. So I'm going to go ahead and glue on a blue there. And I don't use anything fancy. I've got tacky glue. Plain white glue works just as well. All right, I'm going to grab my 8 millimeter tool, or I'm sorry, my 2.5. You ever just get frazzled and you can't get unfrazzled? That's where I am right now. Let me take a deep breath and start over. I'm going to grab my 2.5 millimeter tool, and we're going to make 8 dots with the Provence Sky. So 2.5 millimeter Provence Sky is our light blue color. And so I'm going to start on the lines. I'm going to do my north, south, east, and west. And then one in between each of those, and that gives us 8. I'm going to grab a 1.5mm tool and I'm going to add 8 vivid violet dots in between. So we're working around the center circle, 1.5mm. I'm going to use my petal tool. If you don't have a petal tool, you can use a 4mm tool, which is about the same size, and then pull it into a teardrop shape. And I'm going to use the Vivid Violet paint. And wherever I have a Provence sky, a blue dot, I'm going to place a petal. We're going to go 1 ring out. So for me, this is about halfway centered on this guideline here. And we're going to place 8 of those, 1 next to each blue dot. In between each of those, I'm going to get the 3mm tool and I'm going to do a set of double dots in between each of these teardrops with our perfect Peri, so our lavender color. And I'm just going to, these fall on the in-between lines. I'm just going to do dot, dot, then redip, dot, dot, and do this all the way around. And then next, I'm going to get my 6mm tool. I'm going to use my light blue Provence sky, and I'm going to add a dot beside each of my teardrops. So there's going to be 8 of those. Now I'm pretty close to this outer ring, so I'm going to use that as a guideline. All right, now we're going to turn each of these blue dots into petals. around. We're going to walk the dots, and I'm going to start with my center dot, which is 2.5 millimeters in Vivid Violet. So I'm going to do all of my center dots first. And then we walk the dots on each side using the Baby Blush, which is the lightest pink, and 1.5 millimeters. So I'm going to dip and walk the dots. I can fit 5 comfortably on each side. I think 4 or 5 will work. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we've walked the dots around each of those. In between each of these petals that we created, we're going to add another teardrop shape. And so I'm going to use my larger petal tool. And again, I'm going to center the petal right about that line, that ring that goes in between. And my petal will fall just outside that line, probably in line with the top of those dots. If you're not using a petal tool, you can use your 8 millimeter tool and pull it into a teardrop. And I am using Vivid Violet. I'm going to grab my 8 millimeter tool. We're going to use Provence Sky, the light blue. And next to each one of those teardrop shapes, I'm going to add a blue dot. So we're going to have 8 of these. And again, these fall close to this ring here. I'm going to walk the dots just as we did with the petals in the previous row. So our center dot is just a little bit larger than the one we did here. I'm using 3 millimeters and Vivid Violet. So I'm going to do my center dots all the way around. I'm going to walk the dots on each side with 2.5 millimeters and the baby blush. Just keep my 3 millimeter tool handy. I'm going to use the Perfect Peri, which is the lavender, and I'm going to add a swipe in between each of these. And I want the swipe to start about the same part of the ring as my center dots. And I'm going to do 1 swipe in between each of these, so 8 swipes total. 3 millimeters and Perfect Peri. You'll see on the sample here, on each side of that swipe, I walked the dots. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to use my 1.5 millimeter tool and my Vivid Violet. And I'm going to dip and then walk inward. You should be able to fit 5 or 6 comfortably, depending on your spacing. Next, I'm going to use my 4 millimeter tool, and just on the end of that swipe that we created, we're going to add 2 dots, 4 millimeters in the Provence sky. So I'm going to find my swipe, and then the swipe should be on a line, and so I'm going to put 1 dot to the right of the line and 1 dot to the left of the line. Use my 10 millimeter tool in Baby Blush, and we are going to create a dot that sits right on top of that double dots. I'm going to use my outer ring here as my guide, and I'm going to center it on that outer ring. Depending on our spacing, that might not work for you, but that's where it falls for me. You're going to see me go around each of these circles. Sometimes when I do my larger dots, I don't like the way that the paint squishes, so I'm just kind of evening that out. On each side of these 10mm circles, we are going to add a swoop of vivid violet with our 2.5mm tool. So violet, 2.5mm, and we're going to swoop inward on each side. So dip and swoop, and then dip and swoop. I'm going to repeat that step using the Perfect Peri. And still 2.5mm. So I'm going to add another swoop right next to the violet swoop. You'll see on the sample that we are going to walk the dots instead of swoop for our next step. So I'm going to get my 2.5mm tool, same tool we've been using, and Provence Sky, the light blue. And next to the swoops, I'm just going to walk the dots. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I can fit 4 here on my sample. I could fit 5, so I would say 4 or 5. Whichever works best for you, and just do the same all the way around. I'm going to try to sneak in that 5th dot. 3, 4, 5. And I'm using this outer ring as the guideline where to start. For the next step, we're going to create this line of dots that comes out from this petal right here. And this centered, well, it's not really a center dot, but this first dot is 6 millimeters. And then the second dot is 4 millimeters. So I'm going to do both of those first in baby blush. So I'm going to start with 6. So right next to these petals, we get a 6 millimeter dot. And right next to that one, a 4 millimeter dot. And then we're going to finish this line by using our 2.5 millimeter tool and walking the dots. So you're going to dip once, and then I did 3 dots pretty close together by walking the dots. 1, 2, 3. Right, the rest of the steps, we're going to embellish the corners. I'm going to use my 8mm tool and Perfect Peri, and I'm going to create a dot in each corner. Now, if you're just going to decide to frame this when you're done, you may not want to go all the way to the edge. You might want to leave a little bit of room, but that's your call, depending on what you're going to do when this is finished or what you're creating on. So 8mm, purple Peri, 1 dot in each corner. I'm going to walk the dots on each side, and for that I want a center dot in Provence Sky. I'm going to use my 4mm tool and my light blue, and 1 dot centered towards the inside. I'm going to use the same blue in my 1.5mm tool, and I'm going to walk the dots on each side. I can fit 5 comfortably, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch to my 3mm tool, still using my blue, my Provence Sky, and I'm going to walk the dots going straight on each edge. 1, 2, 3, you can even do 4. So I'm going to do one edge and then come back and do the other, dip, and 1, 2, 3, 4. right, next we're gonna do triple dots with Vivid Violet. So I'm gonna use 1.5 millimeters. And when I say triple dots, what we're gonna do is right above this center dot, we're gonna dip in dot 1, dip in dot 2, dip in dot 3. These are all the same size. So we're gonna create a little triangle crown on top of that center dot. I'm going to use the same tool, 1.5 millimeters, and the same color, Vivid Violet. And what I'm going to do is where we walked the dots on the edges, kind of in this little nook, I'm just going to add a little dot in here, 1.5 millimeters, Vivid Violet. So there's one on each side. And then with the same tool and Baby Blush, I'm going to add a swipe. I'm going to find that set of triple dots that we did right in the middle, and I'm going to swipe up towards the middle. So dip and swipe. Now that's the end of the base of the pattern. I'm going to point one thing out to you. You may see on the sample given, I did add another step. So wherever we've got these large pink dots, the baby blush dots, I did add a double dot and a swipe. So if you have more space to fill in, you can add that in. It really is going to depend. I wanted to give the flexibility because I know not everybody makes when working, sometimes you make things a little tighter or a little looser and you may not have room. So if you've got some space to fill in, that's an element that you can add. I myself am trying to embrace more of the blank space or the background color and not fill everything in. So that's kind of where I was going, but you can always add that in. You've also, like, I've got quite a bit of empty space that if I wanted to add more to the center pattern or add more to the corner pattern, I could do that. So please feel free to use your own creativity and add more in if you'd like to. On this piece here, I use the Nuvo drops to add some top dots. So you can do that as well. I added them around the rings on the petals. So 8 on this inside, and then 8 here, and then 8 more on the large pink circles. So if you want to use your Nuvo drops to do that, you can do that. I added swipes everywhere I used the petal tool or everywhere I created a teardrop as my top. So there are lots of options that you have. I really like for everybody to kind of use their creativity for top dots. I will do the swipes while I am here. So for these inside petals, I'm going to use my 1.5mm tool and baby blush. When working to do your top dots or your top swipes, make sure your bottom layer is completely dry. In this second ring of petals, I used the purple, Perfect Peri, the lavender purple. And this is where I'm going to leave you to do your own top dots. Can't wait to see what you have created. Make sure you share it in the share space or in the Facebook group, and I will see you for the lessons next month in June.